Hi, and welcome to your Lean Six Sigma awareness session. I'm Jo, and I'll be taking you through the basics of Lean Six Sigma, what it is, how it works, the principles, some tools and techniques, and some of the language that goes along with it. The course will probably take about 2 hours to complete, with plenty of practical exercises included. Here's our agenda. Lean Six Sigma is a huge subject, so this session will cover only the most important aspects. It's aimed at equipping you with some basic knowledge that you can use to understand the approach, to contribute to improvement activity, to identify improvement opportunities, and to talk the same language when it comes to making improvements happen. Let's get started by looking at what's meant by Lean and also what Six Sigma is all about. So first of all, the Lean bit of Lean Six Sigma. Lean has its origins in Japan and the Toyota production system, but don't let that put you off. The principles that underpin Lean apply to any process in any organisation. The first principle is focused on the customer or customers of your process. What's most important to them and what's their perception of value? Without this knowledge, it can be quite risky to change a process. You could take away that the customers value most, and you could actually make things worse. The value stream looks at all the tasks, those that add value and those that don't, which are involved in delivering the service or the product or the fulfillment of the requirement to the customer. These need to be identified and understood. When you can see how the work gets done, as set out in the value stream map, you can also understand more about the flow of work through the process. Is the work flowing smoothly, or are there any blockages or bottlenecks in the system? Pull versus push is all about the customer pulling value through the process according to their needs. It's a bit like getting a coffee. You ask for the coffee to be made to your specification rather than pick up a ready-made coffee from the counter. This way that you know you're going to get what you want and at the right temperature, and the coffee shop makes sure that they only make what customers want and don't end up throwing unwanted coffee away. The final principle is focused on continuous improvement. It's a mindset, it's an ethos to be role modelled by leaders, and it's also a systematic way of making processes better. We'll have a look at that later on. Note that Lean is not all about cutting things to the bone, it's about making work easier. Take a look at this quote by Taiichi Ohno. In a nutshell, it's all about seeing your work as a process and about reducing the time it takes to do it by removing non-value adding steps. Later on, we'll talk about exactly what we mean by value adding and non-value adding steps. Now let's look at what we mean by Six Sigma. Six Sigma was first introduced by Motorola, who wanted to improve their performance with particular focus on reducing variation. Six Sigma provides a way of measuring how good a process is. The higher the Sigma number, the better the process. If that process is performing at Six Sigma level, its performance is excellent and it's only delivering 3.4 defects per million opportunities. Note that we're not recommending you to abandon your current methods of measurement and use only a Sigma scale, but the value of the scale is that it's universal and allows you to measure and compare processes that you might not otherwise be able to compare with the same metrics. We mentioned that Motorola wanted to improve quality and reduce variation. Six Sigma's focus is on understanding variation in your processes. The amount of variation can be measured with a standard deviation, and it can then be understood and squeezed and reduced in order to bring more consistency and fewer surprises to the process results. Jack Welch is famous for using Six Sigma in all areas of all GE organisations, proving that it's not just for manufacturing and can add value in any situation. The key focus of Six Sigma is on cause and effect. In other words, the factors in the process or the inputs to the process which influence the outputs. In Six Sigma, we call this Y as a function of X. The Y relates to the outputs from your process that go to your customers, and the X's relate to inputs in your process and the activities within the process, or variables which influence process performance. The volumes, type, accuracy and timeliness of things coming into your process, for example, have an effect on your performance to customers. So too will the activities inside the process, the delays, backlogs, amounts of rework and available resource will all influence process performance. For example, if the output Y is the length of time it takes to recruit a new vacancy, the X variables could include the time it takes to sign off the vacancy, the method of advertising, the number of applicants, etc. This encourages us to think about the factors in and around a process that contribute to the important outputs. We can then identify the vital few and focus on getting those right every time. And if those are right, the output-wise will also be right. This slide shows the different belts used to denote the different levels of Lean Six Sigma experience and expertise. You might recognise this convention that's also used in martial arts. Note that this is a textbook view. Not all organisations have all these belts in place, and sometimes they use them in different ways. The Master Black Belt is an internal consultant who will have operated as a black belt for at least 2 years. These act as full-time coaches, trainers and mentors to the black and green belts. Black belts are full-time project team leaders. They deliver a minimum of 4 projects each year and certificated after the first 2. Training takes between 16 and 20 days for black belts, and some go on to do Design for Six Sigma training. Green belts are part-time Lean Six Sigma practitioners, spending around 20% of their time as project team leaders and team members. They deliver around 2 projects a year and are certificated after their first project is completed. For them, training is between 4 and 10 days typically. Yellow belts are team members and leaders of smaller scale local improvement activities. Training for them takes up to 2 days. And white belts have induction and awareness training into Lean Six Sigma. Supporting all of this are the champions or project sponsors. Each DMAIC project needs one. Their role is to support the project leads, review progress and help with decision making, overcoming obstacles and representing the project elsewhere in the business.